ESPN. So let's give a welcome to Darren Haynes.
All right, give me 1 second so we can just set up. What's going on, you guys? Who's excited? Oh, and anybody else excited? Just to talk about what was first just said, that little screenplay that I put together in your class, I actually used the same one, but I made it a little bit better in college. And actually, I have a short film about it.
You did?
Yeah, actually I do. Might be on here. But anyways, yeah, so my name is Darren Haynes. I used to go to Amity, graduated in '99. And now the best way to explain my life right now is I'm living a dream. If anybody has a dream that they want to achieve one day, it's kind of weird when you're living it. You know, nobody knows, like, okay, what do you do when you actually accomplish your dream? What is it like? When you accomplish your dream, what do you do next? That's the life that I'm living right now. I have the job where I actually go on SportsCenter. Anybody familiar with SportsCenter? I'm actually lucky too because I do other shows now. I have NBA Tonight. Anybody familiar with NBA Tonight? First Take. I also have NBA Playoffs. I've been doing some of those shows too, so I'm actually looking forward to it. So when I'm living my dream, I'm now like trying to find what's going to be my next step in my dream. My next step is trying to move on to bigger and better shows, so I can be like Chris Berman, or if you guys remember Stuart Scott. Yeah. So anyways, what I want to do real fast is for anybody who's not familiar with SportsCenter, I'm going to show you a clip just of some of my stuff. It's like 2 minutes long. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. What's funny is I'm actually hooking this mic up exactly the way that I hook it up when I'm at work. Put it on my right-hand side, go around the back, go through here. Bring it up so you can put it on the tie. Now, at ESPN, they actually have people who help me do this. So, like, seriously. And it's kind of like, okay, she's kind of like going up my shirt. So, that right there is my dream. I go to work and it's really not work for me. What other? It's so funny. We're okay? Audio levels all right? Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Cool. All right. So yeah. So it's really not work for me. I've always enjoyed sports. I like other stuff. I like biology. I like history and stuff like that. But what you just saw up there, I mean, I go into work and talk about sports, do highlights about sports, have fun, joke around, talk about Drake shooting air balls, and I get paid to do it. And then everybody and their mama sees you. So your grandma can be in South Carolina where mine is, and she can say, oh, baby girl, I see you. Well, not baby girl, but you know what I mean. But one of the things that I want to explain is it wasn't easy getting there. So if anybody has a particular dream, it's going to take a lot of hard work to get there, and also sacrifice as well. I always had this picture of myself and Jay Harris when I went to the ESPN studios back in 2005, and I was telling him that, you know, ESPN was my dream, and I would do anything to get there. I'm bringing it up because I actually have it. So this is the old studio, but that was me back when I was in college. I look back on that now and I'm in awe, because you have something in your mind where you visualize where you want to go, and to see it actually happen. Where I went to was I went to school at Wayne State University, and I majored in what they call media arts and studies, or you can say maybe journalism, or in some schools they'll call it communication. But once I graduated, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And what I did was I reached out to everybody that was in this particular business. To give you an example, I interned at a radio station. And you guys are familiar with the internship? I interned at a radio station. And then there was a lady named AJ Parker. I built a relationship with her. AJ Parker says, I have a friend by the name of Rob Parker. And she was like, you need to call Rob Parker because he's a sports guy, just like we're going to exchange numbers because someone told you that, hey, you're a sports guy. But I called that guy Rob Parker. Rob Parker gave me my very first job covering the Pistons, one story a week. Rob Parker then introduced me to another guy who got me my very first job in Alpena, Michigan, where I was a sports director. That guy got me a job in Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley. Then that female, a lady down there, got me a job in San Antonio, Texas. To then they actually both combined to help me get a job in Boston. See how that's working? So you always want to network, build your contacts up. You want to have someone who can mentor you, that can help out big time. I'm here to help you guys out if you guys want to do this. Anybody want to do this? So we have a few who want to do this? Okay. So one of the things along the way that I want to show you is, which I think is sometimes hilarious when I show people, I'm going to pass this out. When you talk about sacrificing, what you're going to look at is, this is my very first contract at my very first job, that Alpena, Michigan job. Anybody see how much I got paid? Because I was balling. Yeah. Who thinks that's a lot of money? You think it's a lot of money? No, you already said. You said it's a lot of money. So she thinks I was balling. I don't know what $14,000 calculates to, because I really don't remember, but I think it was like a paycheck of like $200 and something every 2 weeks. I think it was something like that. But it wasn't a lot of money at all. I laugh at that when I see that. And what I want to explain to you guys is sometimes when you want to get to where you want to go, because I knew I wanted to go there. It disappeared, but you know what I mean. I wanted to get there. I took the sacrifice to say, hey, I'll take this pay cut. Not even a pay cut. I'll take what they have to offer because I had a bigger goal in mind. I knew I wanted to get here. So I knew that was only temporary, that $14,000 a year. And then after that job, it became like $34,000, then $40,000, on and on and on to where I am now. But one of the things that I had to realize is that it's a competitive world. And there's a lot of people who want to be on SportsCenter as well. So what are you going to do to distinguish yourself? How are you going to outwork the other person? Now, you guys are in high school right now, but think about this. When you guys go into college, what are you going to do when it comes down to school time? Are you guys going to try to get the better grades than maybe than another person? Are you guys going to try to be first in your class? When it comes down to internships, are you going to try to get that good internship while other people maybe are not taking advantage of the internship? Just some things to think about, you guys, because I know a lot of people within my business who were great, but they didn't take it seriously. And now they're still stuck in, I don't want to say Durham, North Carolina is a bad town, but, or city, but he's a lot better than where he is right now. But not everybody wants to put in that effort to be the best. And anybody can be the best if you really believe in it. I'm a guy who hates negativity. Don't tell me that if you want to go to high school, don't tell me I can't get an A on that test. I probably got like a B or C in your class. But I went into it thinking I was going to get an A. I don't know, it was bad. But seriously, in high school, I can remember to this day, I'm going to put Coach Marazi on the spot. Coach Marazi was in the gym. I'm pointing to the gym, but you know where the gym is back there. But he told the entire football team that if you didn't receive a Division I letter, a letter from a Division I school for recruiting, you weren't going to play Division I ball. I don't forget that. I proved them wrong. I signed, actually a couple of us signed our letter of intent to play Division I ball. I never forget that. Colin Carley, I don't know if any of you guys remember him. Colin Carley was a guy who said, I'll never play high school football. And then I ended up playing college. I'll never forget, I worked at K Jewelers and the sacrifice. Talk about sacrifice. I used to time up my breaks during at K Jewelers. You know the jewelry store, every kiss begins with K? I just want to make sure you guys know it. I used to time up my lunch break with the Detroit Pistons games. So when the Pistons will end around 5 o'clock, I'll take my break at like 4:30. And so I will leave and I will fly to the Palace of Auburn Hills, quickly do my interview. Yeah, blah, 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 I'm Pistons reporter for Auburn Hills, Darren Haynes. And then I'll go back to work. I may be like about 20 minutes late, but my dad used to always tell me, if you lose your job, at least you're doing it at least you're working to where you really want to go. But at that same K Jewelers job, when I got my first full-time job, it was the same district manager. What's up, baby girl? It was the same district manager that told me, why are you leaving the business? The broadcasting business is too difficult. You'll never make it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I don't know where Ali Alian is right now. Yeah, I said his name. But I hope maybe last night he was sitting watching NBA Tonight last night and was like, man, who's that kid? So never let anybody tell you that you can't achieve something. No negativity. I'm telling you, there will be a lot of people who will doubt, who put doubt in your head, or there'll also be a lot of people, maybe even your close friends, that shouldn't be the friends you should hang around. I like to associate myself with people who will actually make me better. So just think about that for a second. Are you guys hanging around the right people that will actually help you out to get to where you need to go? I made sure I put the right people around me. That guy who I was telling you in Durham, North Carolina, he was a great friend growing up. But now we're just not as close anymore. Why? I still think he's a cool guy, but no, my circle of friends, about 4 people. Steve Ragsdale, if you remember Steve Ragsdale, he's still one of them, because Steve makes me better, even though he makes me better in a different way, probably more as a man-wise. But yeah, so those are sacrifices that I made, and also going along the way, people were telling me I can't do something. My last thing, before I actually take some questions from you guys, is that I believe people are like colors. And for an example, what's your favorite color? Red. Red? What's your favorite color? Purple? Blue? All right, my favorite color is blue. Oh, I'm wearing purple today. I wore it last night, though. But my favorite color is blue. There'll be people out there who may not like your color or like your style, who you are. I go through that still to this day at ESPN. My first day on the job, they're like, ooh, you may not want to say that because you sound like Stuart Scott. I'm not trying to be Stuart Scott, I'm just being myself. And myself is what got me to ESPN. And I really believe that don't change who you are. Go after whatever you want to do, but also stay yourself. Don't try to be somebody fake, because trust me, when I go on TV and I act like somebody fake, people at home will be like, oh yeah, he's kind of corny, he's fake. So be yourself, right? Right? Any questions about the business? Or just life in general, you guys?
Like before, how I understand real everything. How do you when you end it off? How do you get your people on, your new people on when you end?
Help me out again. Say that again.
How do you transition?
Yeah.
Like how do you transition from who's ending and who?
Yeah, and there are new people on, board handle that were not under before.
Transition from people,
Yeah.
like when I'm on TV, or
On board handle.
like when I leave.
Yeah.
Oh, how do we transition from 2 anchors to the next 2 anchors? That's fun too, because suppose my daughter is on SportsCenter, right? So what we'll do is, and she knows she's ready. So one of the ways that we'll do it is the other 2 anchors. Come here, you're with me. So we'll have like 3 other. We'll have anchors. So this is a solo anchor. Let's just say 7 o'clock, because I'll be tonight. She's a solo anchor at 7 o'clock. Myself and another anchor will come on, and basically we'll say, hey, yeah, this is what this story she's talking about, Elsa and Frozen on SportsCenter, and then we'll say, hey, we're talking about the New York Rangers and how they're going to lose in the first round of the NHL playoffs. I just had to throw that out. And then simply it's almost like serious. We're really like joking around, where we'll be like, get out of here. And but I do that all the time. If you watch tonight, I'll probably like, get out of here. And then that's how we just transition to from the next anchor. Some other people do it different ways, but we always want to have fun at our job. We don't want it to be like, hey, we're talking about the NHL playoffs. We want to make it more like, man, the playoffs are about to start. Rangers going to lose in the first round. The Capitals, they're going all the way. They're going to meet Anaheim in the championship, Stanley Cup Finals, and Anaheim's going to win. something like that. Make it fun. Any other questions? What's up, man?
How did you make that like initial connection that brought you to all the other ones, like this one that like brought you to bring yourself up in kind of the system? Like how did you make that initial contact? Like, how did
What I always tell people, seriously, it started from that lady AJ Parker. I have no clue where she is. But when I receive a phone number, or if I receive a business card, you guys, I keep them all. I have this big book that has all the business cards in it. Come here, babe. Come on. I have a book that has all these business cards in it, so I never lose it. And it's just going along the way. You can
I got it. That's why she probably walked out.
So I didn't. Where's my cell phone? I didn't start off with a whole bunch of contacts, right? And along the way, and this is even like athletes too, because they're all part of my business. So for an example, and I'm just doing this for fun, you guys know who Doc Rivers is? Yeah. Like, I didn't get Doc Rivers' phone number like 8 years ago. I was in Boston, and then I got his phone number, and then now I can actually call him up and be like, hey, Doc, your Clippers played really well. Can I call you up? Probably another cool one would be, now I'm like bragging, Red Sox fans. So who's that guy? So it's David Ortiz. And the thing about David Ortiz is that this is part of my business is networking who you know. And when I first started working in Boston, and we started spring training, actually it was after spring training, it was actually opening day. I waited for all the media to step to the side. That's what I do a lot. That's how I got Ray Allen's phone number. He's an old guy now, but I waited till all the other media left. I do this all the time, and then I just approach him and I just start talking to him. I call it building rapport. You build rapport with a particular person. I don't try to get the number right away. I just start building rapport, and then after maybe the third game or the fourth game, then you start joking around and be like, oh, David Ortiz, oh, you got the Elsa, yeah. And then now he's like, oh, David Ortiz is like, yeah, I know, I love Elsa. But now all of a sudden you're building rapport, making him smile, and then you say, hey, David, can we exchange numbers? You never know if we may need to be in contact for some particular reason. And it's worked out a few times. When they shut David Ortiz down for the season, I believe it was in 2012, I was able to break that story. I even had him on the phone after one game where he smashed the telephone with the bat in the dugout. So it's worked out. Doc Rivers too has helped me out. The list goes on. So it's about building your contacts, but it didn't just come overnight. Along the way, I just kept building contacts up, and next thing you know, instead of having 2 people in the business, after 5 years, now you have like 30 or 40. The one who thinks I'm balling, $14,000. We can go out. We can go out to McDonald's dollar menu. Oh, it's a lot if I just gave it to you right now. Spread that out throughout a year.
Yeah. How long did you go to college for?
I went for normal 4 years. I had when you play football, you have 5 years to get 4 years in. So I was redshirted my freshman year, so I was able to actually start my master classes, but I never finished. I want to go back. But the funny part about it is that when I wanted to go back to get my master's at the University of Texas, one of the things that they put in there was like, you need to shadow some reporter and explain how it is to be a reporter and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, I am a reporter. So it was almost like, why go back? But I want to go back one day. But I went normal 4 years.
So what do you do during your days if you only work from like 7 to 9?
My business is kind of cuckoo. Like she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Is that, for an example, last night I went in at 6 o'clock. I didn't get home until the Clippers game was over, so I got home around 1 a.m. Tonight I go in at 4. I'm done at 11 p.m. when SportsCenter ends. Then maybe let's go back because I don't know what I have on the weekend. Last week, Saturday, I have the 3 o'clock, so I go in at 10 a.m. and I get off at 6 p.m. So it's a little bit, my business is very, it's not a normal schedule.
So from 4 o'clock until Sports Center, you're covering for sports?
Correct, yeah, I was gonna get into that. So at 4 o'clock today, Sports Center at 9 o'clock, make sure you guys watch 9 o'clock to 11. I'll go in, we'll have our show meeting at 4 o'clock and we'll discuss ideas. For an example, and this is tough because I haven't prepped myself for it yet. I kind of know we have some big games. If I had to go think about hockey, Capitals playing the Bruins, I think. Bruins in a tough position to try to at least solidify their, because I think they have the first of the 2 wild cards. Gotta know that stuff. And I'll just be honest, at ESPN, a brother knowing hockey, no, I'm serious, because I'm lucky that I worked in Boston and also Detroit as well, because when you come into Sports Center, they'll put you in a position to where they feel like you're best at. And it came a point in time where it was like, why do you keep giving me just the football stuff or just the basketball stuff? I'm like, man, give me some hockey. You know hockey? Yeah, I know hockey. So that's one of the things that I take pride in. Like, I know my hockey. But at that 4 o'clock meeting, we'll go over our show ideas. So let's just say that Capitals-Bruins game and what's going on. We'll probably have Barry Melrose in, one of our analysts, if you guys know who he is. But we'll go over those ideas. There'll probably be about 15 people in this show meeting coming up with different ideas and how we're going to put it together, things that'll make it creative. You're so great. Then after our meeting, after a half hour, that's when it's all writing time. We don't have writers who write our own stuff. We write everything. They do that on purpose, so it's our style. We don't have a guy who may put in highlight, that's totally rad, because I will never go on SportsCenter and say, that play was totally rad. I'll probably say words like, man, that play was dope, or there's a funny thing now, it's like you'll see it on Instagram. You guys ever hear on fleek? I'll say that now. I'll be like, oh, his game's on fleek. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, do you? But what's funny is I have young cousins, and I call them up. I'm like, give me the new stuff. Give me the new stuff. Because I'm getting older now. Like I said, dope. Like dope was back when I was in high school. Now, like, huh? Oh, dope is making a comeback? I'm gonna use it tonight. Be like, oh, his play was dope. Oh, but his play was on fleek. So I try to figure out ways to keep my stuff fresh because I am getting older now, believe it or not. So anyway, so that story I was telling you about where my head coach, Coach Marazi, in the weight room was telling all the football players that if you didn't receive a letter from a Division I school, you're probably not going to play Division I ball. And I took that to heart. And that put a spark in my heart to really motivate myself to do even better. He's still clueless. It's all right. That is honestly, if I had to find an athletic dad, that's my athletic dad. Seriously. You know I look up to you a lot, Coach. I love you too. Y'all don't have to get all misty and come on. But anyways, what was another question? Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm not done. Sorry. We were talking about we write our own story, so it's our own stuff. And literally from 4:30 up until when we get our makeup done, he likes the makeup part. Yes, a grown man wearing makeup.
I think what's interesting, Darren showed up. He brought his makeup, he brought his DVD, he brought his computer, and all his bases covered. Right? How many times do we say in class, do you have everything ready?
Oh, he says that in class. Do you guys have to come prepared? Here's part of also the preparation in our day, and this is why after I'm done here, I'm gonna have to brush up on some stuff. 12 P's. Piss poor preparation promotes piss poor performance. Piss poor performance promotes pain. I like to be prepared because I don't have a piss poor performance, and if I have a piss poor performance, I'm gonna have pain, and the pain is going home being like, dang, I just had a horrible show, and I'm gonna feel it in here. So I always like to be prepared with everything. But throughout the day, we're writing stories. The worst part is when you have an idea. Let's just say we are starting with the Bruins and Capitals game. And then next thing you know, Michael Jordan says he's about to play LeBron James one-on-one. Now your whole show is like, scratch that. We need to start off with LeBron James playing Michael Jordan one-on-one. Like, I would want to see that. So things could change last minute, and it totally messes your whole entire show up. And we always have this phrase called like just wing it. So you'll go into a show and you're like, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're just gonna wing it. And when you wing it, that's where it comes down to that preparation. Like, what do you know in your head? Because you don't know what's coming up next. Especially when someone passes away, you don't know when a person's gonna pass away, and how much do you know about this particular person? Remember I was talking to you about, what do you know about players in the 70s, the 80s? Because 70, the 80, and 80s, some of those guys who are playing are gonna pass away. What do you know about those people? You don't know who's gonna die any given day, and when they die, you're gonna have to probably interview somebody who knows about them. You don't wanna be the guy who doesn't know about a particular person. Gotta read a lot of books. I'm talking to another sports guy. Any other questions? Yeah, you had one, right?
What advice would you give to a who's looking to go into this career, since it is mainly male-dominated?
It's dominated by the men, but y'all trending. No, seriously, you guys are really trending. I think if you had to put it in a really basic way, is a guy watching sports would rather look at a female than look at a guy. No, seriously, but women are trending. It looks like you play sports too. That goes a long way, especially if you know what you're talking about in sports. That goes a really long way. And I'll be honest. There are people who are at ESPN right now, and I'm wondering if I'm going to anchor with him tonight, because I usually do at 9 o'clock. But he would say that there's a lot of females within the business that don't really know their knowledge in sports. So if I can tap into you now to prepare yourself, that if that's what you want to do, make sure you start learning your hockey. Just pay attention. You don't have to study it, but just pay attention. What's going on in the playoffs? What's going on in baseball? What's going on in football? You really don't have to study it, but when you get older, you'll be like, oh man, I remember when this happened in 2015. It'll put you ahead of the rest. But trying to think what other advice I can give you though. But the women are trending, and sometimes it's a little. Everybody's grown in here. Let's just say everybody's grown. It's easier for you to even get David Ortiz's number than myself. That's just the weakness of a guy. That's just the weakness of a guy. So it's actually a little bit easier for you, but it's harder because people will think you don't know anything about all the sports. That's probably the best advice I can give you. I give her 5. All right. I thought somebody. Go ahead.
Were you at the Mouse at the Palace?
No, but I was in Detroit when that happened. But I was not at that game. Kind of wish I was. I know you asked. I'll get to you in a second.
How is it decided, like, what show you're going to go on and who you're going to anchor with?
They have a draft. We don't. That's the whole mysterious thing at ESPN. Nobody knows. It's like this draft, and it comes by your performance. And Coach Marazi, you can attest to this. When I first started, I had a few shows, but I wasn't on all the time. Next thing you know, I'm on this day, on that day, on this day, on that day. Maybe because these people in this particular draft are like, okay, Darren's decent. Let's put him on the show. But they have this draft, and they have these senior producers. Maybe there's like 10 of them. One for the morning sports centers, afternoons and evenings, weekends. And they're like, okay, we have this so-and-so person for this particular day at this time. Oh, I want Darren, or I want Lisa Kearney. And they have this draft, and that's how they fit us in. But what I do know is they know our skill set. They know that for me, I'm a better highlight guy. I'm not a guy, and really I don't like it. What's up, bro? You what? I'm not a guy who's in the morning that likes to sit down and talk to an analyst about what a team's gonna do. I hate that. I'm a guy with like, hey, they played the game. How did that happen? I don't like prediction stuff. I'm glad they don't have me in the morning, because that's not my. I don't like. I like the game's ending and be like, man, did you see that game-winning shot? I don't want to talk about how do they the morning after the game-winning shot. So how do they now build upon the game-winning shot? What does that have to do with like the Price and Tea in Idaho? Anyways, answer your question. Yes.
About
I'll get to you.
your interpersonal relationships with kind of competition amongst you guys.
Correct, yes.
And so you have to collaborate with each other, but yet in a little bit of a competitive way.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you kind of bridge that? Like, how do you work together yet kind of want their spot?
You know what? We actually get along very, very well. We get along very well. And what's funny is it's competitive, but we never really see it, or we don't like, oh, I want to beat them out. We kind of do it behind closed doors. Like I have a meeting at 3 o'clock to work on some other things. And for an example, I anchored NBA Tonight last night. I was walking by Doug Kazarian, who also does NBA Tonight, and he was like, oh, what show do you have? And I was like, NBA Tonight. So it probably in his head, he's like, oh, how did I not get that show? But we always encourage each other to do really well. The only difference where you can see there's a separation, the people who were at ESPN for like years. Scott Van Pelt's a horrible example because he's cool. Well, they're all cool, but you can notice a gap between the anchors that were there for like 20, 15 years, and then us who are like the new people. It's almost like, hey, they do their thing. You don't really talk to them that much. They don't talk to you. They're making the big bucks. It's weird, but when you talk to them, they'll talk back to you. But it's almost like they've seen so many people come and go that they just kind of like, they look right over us.
Addie's dad, who's here, does the updates for Scott Van Pelt's radio.
Scott Van Pelt's a cool dude. Like Scott Van Pelt, like he spit some hip hop lyrics, and I was like, what, really? He was another guy who told me when he started, a lot of people frowned at him because I guess he used to say like hip hop stuff on Sports Center. And he used to always say like, I just want to just be myself. They didn't like me, they didn't like me. I'm still here now, so I must be doing something right. Scott Van Pelt's a cool guy. He's probably going to want a picture of this, actually. Now, in sports, in our job, we call that a double barrel question. So it's like, now I'll explain. Go ahead. But that's a double barrel. Like they'll be like, Darren, you can't do that. Go ahead. Say that again? Yeah.
I think more and more high schools are having programs that are media-related programs.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about video production, television, news stations in high schools and whatnot. What sort of importance does that have on building into the field?
Well, I can say this. I believe we had this back in '99. I think we had like because we had maybe like morning announcements or something like that. But I was the guy who I went to college my first year to be a biology teacher. And then I'll explain that story a little bit. My mother was like, well, why don't you change it to broadcasting? And then that's where now she wants 10% of my check. I know, baby. But to have this in the way this is, I mean, to have him on the camera, I mean, you have a live on me right now. Take advantage of this stuff. Because that job that you see, what I was getting paid there, you guys actually have better equipment than I had. Seriously. We use these big beta tapes. They probably still use the big beta tapes. But if I was able to go to school again, I would totally take advantage of what they have here. I would put together a little fake resume tape, and then I'll take that fake resume tape, and then I'll probably give it to where I wanted the intern to say, hey, this is, oh, someone's in there. This is what I want to be, and then next thing you know, it's the difference between, all right, this student just coming up to me saying they want to be an anchor, to now I have this student that actually has this pretty cool like tape together that they did in high school. So take advantage of these facilities here. Is that what you want? What was the other one?
Segues, lastly, technology changes instantaneously. How does the ever-changing technology sort of factor into what you do and how you do it?
We have to evolve, and it changes it big time. It helps it out, to be honest. It's funny for the old heads, though. They get frustrated. When I worked in San Antonio, we went from using, if it was beta tapes, DVC Pro tapes, you guys probably never even heard of that, to then using, you guys are familiar with P2 cards? Nobody have P2 cards? What do you guys record on? Oh, SD cards, okay. P2 cards, SD cards. They're basically things that capture the files and stuff. Same deal. But what we'll do is I could be at a football game for a state championship in Dallas, and I'll do my stand-up and I'll cut and edit all my stuff, and then I'll FTP it back to my station. You guys familiar with FTP? Is that played out now? It could be. That technology could be old. But it was a way we used to send the file, but I had to learn that. There are other people who didn't want to like learn that, and next thing you know, I'm getting, that's why I went to the World Series, because he didn't know how to use the FTP thing. I went to 2 World Series because the older sports director wasn't really familiar with the technology. But just like how I have the on fleek that I use, you guys will have to we adjust to the technology as it comes. They just launched a new ESPN website. The first day I was like, I hate this thing. But now I'm like, okay, now I know how it works. I look at it like I don't play video games, but if you ever play a video game, that's your fault. You learn it, you adjust. But don't be stubborn and not learn and adjust. We always have to change because technology is changing every single day, every day. Mr. Sawatsky, you're gonna have his Sawatsky session about double barrel questions. I'm about to call you coach. Mr. First, before a double barrel question is when you interview somebody and you give them 2 questions at one time, and usually they forget the first question while they're answering the second one. And then next thing you know, in the middle of the interview, they're like, what was that second question? So that's why you always go 1 question at a time so they don't.
What's the most challenging part of your job? I mean, it sounds like
Right now or overall?
It sounds like you're riding a crest right now, right? You've got what you want. You're great on the air. We've seen the clip. So what's challenging to you right now, and how do you deal with it?
The challenging part is to know everything about sports. When I first started. No. This is the best example. I'm a diehard UConn basketball fan, like diehard. 1993 starting 5, Daron Sheffer, Ramat Afal, Israel, Kevin Ollie, Los Angeles, California, Daniel Marshall, Reading, Pennsylvania, Travis Knight, Salt Lake City, Utah. Am I missing who's the 5th guy? I don't know. Maybe it's Donnie Marshall, Federal Way, Washington. I need to know every sport the way I know UConn basketball. Someone told me that, the guy who produces Baseball Tonight, he was like, the way you know UConn, you need to know every single team that way. And I started studying. She's in her own world. Well, I started studying all different sports. Remember I was telling you about the hockey thing? I did not want to be the brother who didn't know about hockey. So I actually one day, probably like a year ago to this day, I sat down and I went through every single name on every NHL roster, and I copied and pasted every name on YouTube just so I can hear and know how to pronounce the person's name, so I won't butcher it. That was about like a 5-day process. If I had the internet on here, I'll show you the email where I can go back to. While I'm talking, I just want to see if I can find it. But that's the hardest part, trying to know everything. It's almost impossible, but you can learn enough to what we call fake it till you make it. Even about NASCAR. But it got so serious with NASCAR. Actually, I went down to Charlotte, and I was Jimmy Johnson's part of his pit crew. And I was hanging with Jimmy Johnson, doing this, doing that, changing tires. But it built a different appreciation for it. But you have to make those sacrifices to learn that particular sport. But that's probably the most challenging thing. I have NBA D-League playoffs coming up on Friday. Anybody know about NBA D-League? Oh, you know about NBA D-League? I'll stand here right now. I have NBA D-League. I'm not going to bring it up because there's no service. I have NBA D-League playoffs on Friday, and I'm like, I don't know who, what, when, where, why. But I guarantee when I do the first game, I think it's at 7 o'clock, and then the second one at 9. If you watch on Friday night, you'll be like, dang, this dude Darren knows his stuff. I want to study the heck out of the NBA D-League. But that's probably the hardest thing right now. The thing that distinguishes me, or that distinguishes other people from myself, is that they've been around so much longer. And so it's just second nature. what they always tell me is you'll be on the grind for the first 2 years trying to learn all this stuff, and then as it circles around a couple more times, it's like review. It's not as difficult.
And just, if any of
It's triple barrel.
No, that's just one triple barrel. The second one is if any of our students want to put together a reel, whether it's for broadcast journalism or digital video, and they send it to you, just
Oh, to critique it? Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
maybe we'll get some together, and because I know a lot of students have said, "Gee, I'd like to do that."
Yeah, yeah.
Would you do that for us if we get some reading, just to critique them? Maybe.
I critique resume tapes all the time. I had a guy by the name of Bill Ganello. You guys probably don't know who he is. I know you remember Bill. But Bill was a guy who would literally, he was working at News 12, Connecticut, but he would be working out of his mind. He'll have so much stuff that he's doing at one time. And he'll never hesitate to answer the phone. And he'll answer the phone, hey, what's up, Darren? Doing all this type of stuff. Oh, what do you need me to do? Oh, yeah, I'll do it right now. Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. While he's doing all this other stuff, he always made time to help people out. And I'm still your fault. I'm not Bill Ganello, but a little bit of that is in me where I love to help people out. I do it all the time. We have a conference coming up over the summertime where I'm actually speaking about mentoring and how it helped me out and how I like helping other people out. So after this is all over, if you want to exchange contact information or if you want to go through you, that's absolutely fine. I do it all the time. There's a guy who just emailed me this morning saying, hey, you need to look at my resume tape because I couldn't get to it because of the NCAA playoffs, NCAA tournament. So I do it all the time.
Do you perhaps have a short Stuart Scott story that we may not have heard publicly?
Yeah. Gosh, which one? Any of you guys remember the SportsCenter commercial where it's Scott Van Pelt and Stuart Scott, and it's Arnold Palmer, and he's like with the tea and the lemonade, and they were both looking at it, and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome." I did a 8 to 11 o'clock show, and Stuart Scott came on at 11, and I knew Stuart Scott years ago. Before that, before I actually knew Jay, and it was weird because he was just like, we had that transition period where when it goes from one anchor to the other. And he said, get out of the seat, young player, let the real dogs do this show. And it wasn't like damn, why are you talking to me like that? It was more like dude, that was awesome. He kicked me out of the chair, but he's the man. I mean, go ahead, take it. So that was a memorable thing for me.
Wait, when you report breaking news, how do you do that?
He asked, when we report breaking news, how do we do that? Remember I was telling you about the preparation thing? For an example, probably my last big breaking news story was Steve Nash when he retired. Should have retired like 2 years ago, but when he retired. Steve Nash is an easy one though, but they'll literally tell you in your ear. You'll have one of these. You what, babe? This is my backup one, so it's kind of tangled up.
You could be mid-story and someone's barking in your ear.
Yep. The worst is when you're, and I can show you guys what a shot sheet looks like, but here, I'm gonna show you this after. So they'll speak in our ear. Maybe when the other anchor's going. It's the worst when you're a solo anchor though. Like she's the solo anchor. And they'll tell you in your ear and say, hey, news is broke, Steve Nash just retired. I need you to come on camera to just break the news story. And you don't have a prompter, you didn't write anything. It's all about what you have in your head. That's where it comes down to make sure you know try to know everything or start paying attention to everything now because you never know when you're gonna have to talk about the Rangers losing in the first round of the playoffs.
You guys, we're going to run out of time, and I want to leave a few minutes just in case anybody wants to talk to Darren. Let's give him a hand.
Yeah, no problem.
I thought maybe the kids would want to talk to you just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Before they have to go to lunch.
Let me just give 1 minute. One minute real fast.
You take it. It's your
Hey guys, I just wanted to show you this. So when we do highlights, this is what comes to us. This is a shot sheet. So this is Warriors and Pelicans. That was last night. So this is what our shot sheet looks like. Now, for an example, and I'll show you in the IFB, sometimes the game ends right away and we don't have enough time to get one of these. And either you have to identify how they look. So you'd be like, okay, that's Steph Curry. Oh, he just knocked down a 3. Or they're telling you in your ear, like, Steph Curry's about to shoot the 3. It made it a 2-point game. And you're like literally repeating what they're saying. You'll have to get used to it. But I usually, what I call like butcher my shot sheets. This is not that big though, but usually I'll circle, okay, Tim Duncan did something, Aaron Baines did something, Marco Bellinelli did something, to kind of get rid of all the other wording, because this is a lot of words. I just want to know who's doing the play and I can react to it. So instead of saying Patty Mills to a cutting Marco Bellinelli for the lay-in, I mean, I might just say, oh, Marco Bellinelli layup game on fleek. So I just add in my own stuff. So I just wanted to show you that. Where are you? What are you doing? So yeah, that's all I want to show you. Actually, I do want to end with one last thing. For your goals, you guys, I remember I told you to be persistent, to don't let anybody discourage you. I live my life like if I'm driving. You're going to leave your house, you're going to go to school. You know you're going to school. When you leave your house, you don't see where you see you're leaving your house, and at one point you're going down all these roads, curves, and there's bumps in your road. And you look in the rearview mirror, you don't see your house anymore. You look ahead, you don't see the school. But you know you're getting to the school. You know you're going to get here. Look at life when it comes down to your career or anything you want to be, just like that. Know that you're going to get there, no matter what you're going through along the way. And got it? Cool.
All right, guys, that's lunch.
Oh, it was real. Oh, my contract. Hey, if you guys want to, whatever, you guys can hold on to it, or if you want me to take it, it's trash.
Did you say you knew Bill Ganello?
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine.
My dad's one of his best friends. I called him Uncle Bill.
Tell him that, yeah, Bill Ganello, when I teach people to this day, I always tell people the best way to learn how to do something is by doing it. I call it the Ganello rule, because that's what he used to always tell me. Yeah, Bill Ganello. Yeah, was a very close friend of mine. Health room, okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Your
You say your dad's at ESPN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him that I said hi, and hopefully